Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on this channel, and today we've got a bit of a special one because for all of you one-shot merchants out there, we're going to be taking a look at a weapon that literally one-shots all invaders and is just extremely overpowered in PvP situations, whilst also decimating almost every boss available in the main game as well. Out of all of the overpowered builds that we've made in the past, this is one that I'm extremely excited to share with you guys because it's just ridiculous. But of course, before we go into all of that juicy goodness, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that's showing so much support on the videos recently. You guys have been amazing, leaving comments, liking the videos, and also subscribing to the channel, so much so that we're so close to 10,000 subscribers. So if you're new around here, or if you're coming back to these types of videos regularly, do make sure that you're subscribed down below. Become part of the already existing legends that have subscribed to this channel and this brilliant community that we're creating, and that way you'll also never miss a future video. And it's free, so why not give it a go? And also, whilst you're down there, why not give this video a like if you happen to enjoy it? But now that that's all out of the way, let me explain to you this insane weapon and crazy build that goes with it. Now, for some of you, you probably already guessed or have an idea of what it could be, but the weapon we're discussing today is none other than the Marais Executioner Sword. It's got an absolutely ridiculous Ash of War, which has the highest DPS in the game, and mixing that with the right stats and talismans, you can do things like this. Yeah, I wasn't joking when I said this thing is insane. With the ability to essentially one-shot any other NPC or invader that tries to invade your world, this build is extremely handy to keep those invaders away. As I mentioned, it's one of the highest DPS weapons in the game, and with its Ash of War, the Dancing Blade, we're pretty much doing about 10 to 15 hits per second, and as you can probably already imagine, with the right talismans and stats, we can turn this thing into an absolute monster. And I'm just going to throw up these stats on screen, and as usual, it's a level 150 build. So of course we've got 50 vigor, 25 mind, 25 endurance, 55 strength. It's actually 14 dexterity rather than 19, but it's being boosted +5 because of one of the talismans that we've got. So you only need 14 points in dexterity to actually wield the weapon. And then base intelligence and faith, so 10 for me in this case, and then 40 arcane because the weapon boosts firstly with strength as its main scaling factor, but then also boosts with arcane as its secondary scaling factor. And by the time you hit about 55 strength, you then only start increasing the power by about +1, +2, whereas with arcane you're pretty much doing +2 every time up until level 50. So as soon as you hit about 55 strength, you then need to put the rest into arcane to get the absolute most out of the weapon's damage output. And obviously, to go along with those stats, we've got these 4 talismans applied to the build as well. So we've got Godfrey's Icon because this is a charged skill power. You can just press LT, L2 to use the skill power quickly and get it off much quicker, but it doesn't last as long. And then obviously if you hold that button, you will then be doing the Ash of War a lot longer, getting more hits off and dealing more damage. So Godfrey's Icon is extremely useful for charged skill powers such as this. And then we've obviously got the Shard of Alexander. If you're ever using a build with a skill power, the Shard of Alexander is a must, so that's why that's in there, to boost the damage that we're doing even more with the skill power. And then because we're doing a ridiculous amount of attacks in quick succession, we've got the Rotted Winged Sword Insignia, which will greatly boost the damage output once doing successive attacks. And then we're equally pairing this with Millicent's Prosthesis to again boost the damage with the amount of successive attacks, but also gives us +5 in dexterity, which is obviously again why we've got 19 dex rather than 14 in the stats, which again just gives a nice little boost to the damage output as well with this weapon. But of course, all of those boosts don't stop just there, because we've also got the Wonder Physic, which we are going to sort of mix and match a few things. What I tend to sort of stick with in the end, especially if you're going in a PvP situation or being invaded, anything like that, is having the Magic Shrouding Crack tier as well as the Thorny Crack tier, because that both boost the attack that we're doing with the Ash of War. Because believe it or not, it is actually magic damage that we're dealing with this weapon, so putting that on does in fact boost the damage output with the Ash of War. And then obviously with the Thorny Crack tier, that is exactly the same boost that we're getting with Millicent's Prosthesis and the Rotten Wing Insignia, again boosting the amount of damage that we're doing with successive attacks. So we're getting like 3 times the boost pretty much with that, with this included. Additional damage with the Shard of Alexander and Godfrey Icon, and then also additional damage with the Magic Shrouding Crack tier. But I would also highly suggest, if you're using this in a PvE situation, so playing offline or just progressing through the story, I would also suggest potentially putting the Stone Bar Crack tier on, because then you're more likely to break your enemy stances after using the Ash of War once or twice, allowing you to basically follow up with with that immense amount of damage if they're still alive, with a critical hit more than likely taking them out if they weren't already. And of course, you would have been seeing gameplay in the background as well of just showing how immense this weapon is and just how quickly you can turn on your enemies, especially in a PvP situation. Still doing solid damage with the quick attacks and heavy attacks that the weapon possesses, because it is still a great sword, which is probably one of my favorite weapon types in the game. And if they start getting too close to you and start ramping up the pressure, you can just unleash this Ash of War and just take them out in 1 second. It really is ridiculous. And of course, for those of you that don't know how to get this weapon, you do actually get it from defeating the mini boss in the shaded castle, so just progress through that area, and then when you meet the Briar in the main castle hall, once you defeat him, he'll then give you that weapon. And literally just like that, you've got possibly one of the best weapons that there are available in the game. I should also hopefully be having the footage of me taking on Melania, and I'm not gonna lie, it took me about 2 or 3 times to do it because I haven't actually fought Melania in quite some time, so I'm still getting used to the fight. But after realizing the mechanics of this weapon and keeping my distance and obviously utilizing the Ash of War, I was pretty much taking like a quarter or a third of her health each time I was using it. But not only that, it also has the neat thing of knocking back enemies such as Melania, so it also allowed me to basically follow up with a heavy attack, dealing an extra 1,000 or so damage on top of the already 5,000 or 6,000 that I was doing with the Ash of War. One thing as well that I forgot to mention earlier, just to boost your stats even more, is obviously trying to use Golden Vow if you can. Obviously we've got no faith in this particular build with the stats, but what you can do is apply it to any plain dagger on the game, get the Golden Vow Ash of War and just put it on that dagger to then use that to have access to Golden Vow without having to put 25 points into Faith. But yeah, I wasn't the absolute best, obviously, whilst recording this gameplay because I was using the weapon for the first time, and I haven't played Elden Ring in a little while, but even still, I was just decimating most things that are in my way, and it was a whole lot of fun going into invasions and PvP situations with this weapon because it was just ridiculously overpowered. Obviously, if you want to take this further and apply more boost, if you do want to delve into Faith, you can use incantations such as like the Howl of Shabiri and other things like perfumes as well. You can turn this thing into possibly doing about 10,000 damage, if not more, when using pretty much all of the buffs available in the game. I'm just incredibly impatient. I can't be bothered to do about 1 or 2 minutes preparation for a boss fight that's then going to last about 5 seconds. So for me, this is a good middle ground where it does more than enough damage than you need, is more than accessible to anybody with a level 150 character, and just, yeah, is extremely fun to use. So with all that said, obviously go and get this weapon. It really is insane if you haven't got it already. Let me know obviously in the comments if there's any ways to improve this build even further. I know you can probably mix and match some of the stats, maybe not put so much into mind and put that into strength for Arcane to boost the power even more. So yeah, feel free to let me know in the comments how you'd make this weapon even better. Let me know if you want me to cover any other weapons, because I'm more than happy to do that for you guys. Try out a weapon for you, see if it's any good, and make the best build possible. So yeah, get your suggestions down there as well. But yeah, other than making sure that you subscribe so that way you're making history and not missing out on your chance to be the first 10,000 people to ever subscribe to this YouTube channel, I think I've said everything that needs to be said about this weapon, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and like I said at the beginning, thank you all so much for your support recently. It really has been amazing, so I couldn't thank you lot enough. But for now, I'll leave you to it. I'll stop muttering on. Go get this weapon, go have an immense amount of fun, and I guess I'll catch you in the next video of whatever it is that we make. Bye bye.